In the last section of this class, we talked about exploratory research that is typically used at the beginning of a research project. Qualitative research is used to explore the research problem. So in this section, or in this module of this class, we will look at this type of research in more detail. Before we get into the details, let's make sure you understand why qualitative research is needed. So what are some of the reasons we do qualitative research at all? The most common reasons for exploratory research are, first, to identify or understand the key aspects of the problem. What are the key issues that need to be considered in this research? Second, we wish to identify the attributes and the benefits and the uses of the product that are important to consumers. And this is something that we may not have a good understanding of, and that's why we need to do some qualitative research to figure this out. Third, we want to know how consumers think or talk about the product. In other words, what is the language they use? And again, this is often different from what we think it is. Another reason for qualitative research is to identify and to understand the reasons for findings in a quantitative study. So sometimes we use qualitative after conducting a quantitative study so that we can understand some of the issues that were uncovered in the quantitative study. The overall reason for conducting qualitative research is usually to provide some direction for the next stage of research. So you don't have to consider a large number of issues, most of which may not be relevant, and then you can focus on the issues or the questions that matter. This subsequent stage after qualitative is called conclusive research because it allows you to draw conclusions with some degree of confidence. And qualitative research does not allow you to do that. So conclusive research, as we saw earlier, could be descriptive or causal. That is, it could describe a particular phenomenon or aspect of the market, or it could test a cause and effect relationship. Qualitative research is actually a catch-all term that includes a wide range of methods and techniques. Some of the most common techniques are listed here, and we'll briefly discuss each of these in turn. Expert surveys can be very helpful and can provide a cost-effective way of getting a lot of expert insight quickly. Here, the idea is that you would identify people who have some expert knowledge of the market or of consumers. Who would normally be considered an expert on the market? Of course, you can think of the usual suspects such as industry analysts and academics and so on, but you should not forget the people who are actually in contact with the market and with consumers on a regular basis. I'm talking, of course, about retailers and salespeople, both of which will ordinarily have a lot of good information that they can share with you. And of course, experienced managers within the company can also be good sources of information. In fact, expert surveys often begin with the company's managers and sales force because they are easily accessible and more than willing to share their thoughts. Ethnographic studies is a method that comes from anthropology and has become very popular in recent years. The idea is that you study people in their natural habitat, whether at home or at work, where they use the product in question. The researchers become what is called a participant observer, meaning that they immerse themselves in the same environment and simply observe what is going on in the environment and in the subject's interactions with the product. This approach is now used by many major appliance manufacturers to understand how people use their products. For example, GE, Whirlpool, and others have set up mock homes where they ask consumers to spend a day just using various refrigerators, washing machines, ovens, etc., and understand how well these products work for them. There's an interesting example of how one company, Moen, used ethnographic research as a starting point for coming up with a new product design. Moen wanted to design a new type of shower head, and they conducted a series of research studies over a period of several years to do this. One of the first things they did was conduct an ethnographic study of how people shower. Obviously, this was not easy because most people do not like to be observed in the shower. So Moen had a tough time finding subjects who were willing to do this. Eventually, they found a nudist group whose members agreed to cooperate. The findings were very interesting. Among other things, they found that people shower with their eyes closed, so they need to be able to adjust the shower without opening their eyes. This and other findings eventually led Moen to design a shower head called Revolution, which won design awards and was a huge success when it was launched. Read all about it in an article that I've placed on the website. One of the simplest and most popular methods in qualitative research is the depth interview, also known as the one-on-one. It usually takes an hour or more to conduct. The interviewer follows an interview protocol, which means procedure, asking about issues such as the respondent's motivations, the thoughts, experiences, etc. The questions are usually open-ended, meaning that we allow respondents to express their responses in their own words, and don't ask them to pick from a set of pre-specified answers, as in a survey. The interviewer plays a crucial role here because he or she has to encourage the respondent to talk freely and has also to provide for more details whenever appropriate. So probing is an important part of a depth interview. Often the responses can lead into unexpected areas, and the interviewer has to be open to going there. Some researchers prefer a depth interview to a focus group because it avoids the risk of the respondent being influenced by other people's responses. The downside is that it is time-consuming and expensive. A single depth interview can take as long as a focus group and generate just as much data for analysis. So you need to be careful when using depth interviews, as it can take up a lot of time and exhaust the budget.
There is a popular interviewing technique called laddering, which is designed to identify key product benefits for the purpose of developing product positioning and creating ads and other communications. Laddering assumes that product attributes are a means to an end, so it tries to understand the so-called means-end chain. The idea is that product attributes lead to functional consequences or benefits for the consumer, which lead to psychosocial benefits, that is, emotional benefits. These, in turn, lead to what we call values, that is, emotional goals or preferred states of being. Here's an example. Product attributes such as high price or good quality workmanship lead to functional consequences, meaning immediate and tangible consequences of product use, such as durability or excellent performance. These in turn lead to psychosocial consequences, that is, how it makes the consumer feel, or how it makes others feel about that person. For example, I may feel like a good shopper because I use the product, or others may see me in a favorable light. These psychosocial consequences reinforce the values, that is, the desired states that are important to me. For example, they may raise my self-esteem, or I might feel like I'm a thrifty person, which is important to me. Here's an example of a possible means-end chain for a specific product, in this case a Gillette Fusion razor. The product attributes are 5 anti-friction blades and a lubricating strip. These lead to functional consequences of a closer shave and a smoother and softer shave, respectively. The psychosocial consequences are feeling well-groomed and being comfortable, leading to values of being attractive and being relaxed. Here's another example of how laddering might be used in an interview about running shoes. You should pause the video so you can read the transcript. When you're done, press play. A final technique in this module that we look at is content analysis, which can be conducted after depth interviews or after a survey to analyze the verbal or text data. It includes procedures that allows researchers to make inferences from non-quantifiable data. The steps in content analysis include transcribing the interview and summarizing the responses, grouping the responses by topic, assigning codes or numbers to each type of response, and finally, analyzing the frequency of each topic being mentioned. The more frequently a topic or idea or belief is mentioned, the more important it is assumed to be.